Good afternoon. On behalf of the town of Plainfield, the Plainfield Police Department, the Plainfield Fire Territory ATF, and State Fire Marshal's Office, we thank you for coming this afternoon for this press conference. My name is Joe Aldridge. I'm Deputy Chief of Police for the Plainfield Police Department. This is a follow-up press conference in reference to Wednesday, March 16th Walmart distribution fire. The purpose of this press conference is to discuss our current status, the investigation, and public concerns. So please hold all your questions till the end. I'm going to introduce the people behind me. They're going to come up one at a time and speak, and then we'll take questions at the end. Immediately to my left and your right is ATF Special Agent in Charge Jason Walsh. He is a part of ATF's NRT, their National Response Team. They respond all over the country to incidents such as this, and he will speak directly to the investigation. To my right is Jim Mitchell. He is from the EPA Region 5 Coordinator. He's going to discuss air quality and debris concerns. And lastly, to my far right is Plainfield Fire Territory Chief Brent Anderson, who will address you as well. First of all, I will give you a few items from the police department. I will want to reiterate that this is still a very active scene, and the facility is secured by the Plainfield Police Department to maintain scene integrity. Until the investigation is complete, we will secure that building. Most of the employees who got out of that building have retrieved their vehicles from the parking lot. However, there are some vehicles that are at that parking lot that cannot be retrieved at this time, and we will let the public know, or those workers know, when they can come get them. The public can still expect some road closures. 100 South between Ronald Reagan and Smith Road, and also All Points Parkway could be closed at certain times due to equipment being moved and accessibility for water. I have a statement from the Health Department that I'm going to read now. The Hendricks County Health Department has dedicated a phone line to address the public's concerns of public impact of the fire. The Hendricks County Health Department may be contacted at 317-718-6052 with questions or concerns regarding the health implications of this incident. For those who do not live in Hendricks County, we urge you to call your local health department or your local county health department. The health department has developed a page of frequently asked questions in reference to handling debris and air quality concerns. Those have been passed out to the media today, and then we will also send that out. I'll now introduce Jason Walsh from the ATF.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Jason Walsh. I'm with the ATF. We came here to Plainfield with two priorities. The first, to support our local fire and police departments. Second, to identify a cause and origin of how this fire could have started. With ATF, we have a specialized team known as the NRT. The NRT's responsibility is to work with the police department, work with the fire department, and identify that cause of the fire. Our work, as you can see with the weather, is going to be long-lasting. We ask through the investigation that you all be patient with us in that sense. We bring a lot of expertise to the table. We have a variety of resources that are here on our team to include seasoned agents, fire investigators, engineers, safety officers and such. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here. We also are very happy in a sense that when we found out about this fire that there were no reported injuries. I think that's a great thing. I also would like to commend Walmart and their executive staff, who have been nothing but helpful as we've begun our investigation. So the investigation will be ongoing. I cannot answer questions specific to what that would look like, but what I would say is we will stay here through the duration of the investigation, continue to work with our state and local partners, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Mitchell. I'm a I'm scene coordinator from U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm out of the Chicago office. So in the afternoon of Wednesday, March 16th, we are asked to support the local fire, as well as through a request through the Indiana Department of Environmental Management for air monitoring support. So we deployed in the afternoon, and most of our air monitoring resources arrived on the scene. It was late in the evening. We started putting up an air monitoring network that includes particulate air monitors, as well as also to look for chemical compounds. So the network included pretty much anything that was going to happen downwind, right next to the facility, as well as any potential impacts that would be downwind. You know, the network pretty much focused on some of the finer particulate material, which is really the cause for major health concern. We will continue to maintain this network until the fire is out. Our process is that we collect this data on a daily basis, and on the end of the day, we share this data with the local health departments. And essentially, the data gets reviewed and it gets compared against any of the previous air monitoring, any of the recommendations in terms of protective measures that have been issued to the public when the fire was initiated. So currently, we've developed in conjunction with the state and local health departments, as well as IDEM, and frequently asked question sheets that pretty much we kind of have our ear and we're understanding what are the impacts from this fire downwind and on properties, and how to address those issues. The FAQs really addresses the health issues associated with still being in the area of the smoke, how to reduce your exposure while being in there, as well as any other picking up debris, any other impacts to water systems. So we work collaboratively with all the locals, and through the local health department number and addressing all the information that's presented in the FAQs, we're hoping to be responsive to any of the public concerns on that end. So again, EPA will be around. We'll be continually collecting data. We'll work in coordination with the local health departments as to when that mission is going to end, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Brent Anderson, Plainfield Fire Territory. Latest update we have for today is we continue to hit hot spots over at that scene. We're working in our 50th hour since this event started about noon on Wednesday. I expect we will transition. Our plan is to transition later this afternoon, early this evening, from fire suppression efforts to cause and origin, and move more into a support role of our investigators, the ATF, and other partners that are there to determine what may have caused this event. We've had 30 agencies now. We're up to 30 agencies that have assisted us, 30 fire agencies, along with obviously other community partners. 30 agencies, 350 firefighters at last count is what we've expected to come through there over the course of 3 days. So we're working on 3 separate shifts that have responded to there. So some of those shifts multiple times, some of those trucks multiple times with different crews. We've had a pretty good plan for the last 24 to 36 hours of rotating crews in and out every 4 to 6 hours on a rotation schedule, so they stay fresh and they can also provide coverage in their own communities. A lot of that's mutual aid, but every community is still providing the coverage they need for their towns and communities. So as I said, as we move forward, we're going to transition later today from a fire suppression effort to a more supportive role of the investigators. I expect that'll happen this evening, and our footprint and our operation over there will scale down tremendously. You know, while this might be an event that costs many dollars, a large dollar loss and property loss, I think the one positive takeaway is, as Jason said earlier, no serious injuries, no loss of life. And that's what we should focus on, that all the systems worked, from the 911 calls to the fire protection systems to the emergency response, and all the way to where we are today. The response has been enormous and outstanding, and we could have did this alone. So we appreciate all the assistance we've got. Later today, we'll release the agencies that have assisted us, and we'll get that out one way or another. So.
So at this time, we do not have any future planned press conferences at this time. And as the weekend progresses, if there is information that's important to get out, we will certainly get it out to our media outlets. At this time, we'll take some questions. Go ahead, guys.
We are going to say the fire is out. As crews continues to dig over there and we remove some of the rubble and the building materials, we will find stuff. But by our standards, we're considering the fire out, and we're transitioning to that supportive role. Not yet. We have some heavy equipment over there, and they're working now. Some investigators, we did access some electronics that were in there that they want to make access to, but that's about the only access we've made into the interior of the building right now. Still making sure the walls are stable and the structure's safe for everybody to enter and work around.
Can you speak to any fire suppression methods that were happening inside the building at the time the fire went off? We're hearing some initial radio traffic that indicated that maybe some of those methods were turned off and you got the fire under control.
The fire was, when we arrived, all the suppression efforts or the suppression systems were operating as designed. We'll get into more of that in the coming days to the strategy and tactics and what may have happened over there or didn't happen. But as far as we know, everything was working as it's designed. And as Jason said, they've got engineers, we've got all the staff, we've got sprinkler experts that'll be looking into that.
Squad 995, Medic 123, 15,300 Terminal Way, at Guest Services. Difficulty breathing. Assigned to AFD Op 91, Squad 995, Medic 123, 15300 Terminal Way, at Guest Services. Difficulty breathing. 1441 hours. Assigned to AFD Op 91.
We'll let them leave and then we'll get back. So to wrap up that question, there'll be a complete investigation on as it was the system operating as it was designed in the future.
Chief, I have a follow-up. I have been called by somebody who said that the fire suppression system was ordered to turn off when you felt the fire was under control. Was it or was it not?
The fire suppression system was not ordered off. The risers in the affected area were turned off. So in the affected fire area, you have risers that individualize the fire suppression system. Individual areas were turned off. The suppression system to the entire building was not turned off.
When was the last time that building was inspected by your office or the district?
I don't have that information readily available. Very, very difficult. Obviously, safety is the number one priority, and we can't do anything until we deem the building safe. Which the first thing is the fire has to be put out, and then we've got to make sure the structure's sound. No walls are going to collapse or cause any damage to that, and that's what we're working through here. You know, and just the weather is going to cause us enough challenges. It's going to be slow, methodical. It's going to take several days, weeks, maybe even months to determine what might happen over there. I'm going to defer to Jason on that one, as he's the subject matter expert on investigations.
So what I will say is, as the investigators go in and make determinations, there's a number of factors that we can look at and use to try to identify. Obviously, the luxury that we do have as the federal government is we have a lot of resources to include explosive canines. We have specific certified firearms specialists, and they're really tuned with how fire spreads, how fire starts. So to reiterate what Chief said, yes, it will be difficult. Obviously, just the elements and the weather today is going to be challenging, but we have men and women out there right now working as we speak to try to identify that. So our goal is to come to a conclusion on how this fire started. That's our priority. Yep.
At this point, could you talk a little bit about what people should be doing, staying indoors when it comes to their health?
We've developed, as I mentioned before, the frequently asked questions. So those questions will address what people should do. Mostly the fine particulate material is, it can be adverse, to public health. There isn't, evacuations in place, but it's a common sense approach. If you're in the smoke, you actually can wear an N95 mask, and that will protect you. Correct. Well, I mean, as a general rule, we set up, a whole network of air monitors as to where, kind of the strategy is we believe where sort of the worst case conditions are, and then we do a lot of other monitoring in other locations. We go to, hospitals, we go to schools, we go to other locations, and just do a lot of, other mobile air monitoring, and then we essentially will stay there, and do that. So basically, our indications is that, right now, if there's visible smoke in the air, it's probably a good idea not to linger in it. We don't recommend that people kind of remain indoors, but there's actions that people take to just don't linger in the smoke. If it's causing you, if it's a nuisance, then please, get indoors. If you have to be outside and it's a nuisance, you can wear any N95 masks. We've got procedures in terms of if there's debris in the yard, how to clean those up and do that safely. So for the most part, I think all those FAQs should pretty much take people through straightforward. If they have any additional questions, they can contact their local health department.
How long about 2 days later? Why put this out now instead of Wednesday or Thursday when we still have
Well, partly we're always looking at in monitoring. We started our network pretty much early in the morning on the 17th. So in order to really look and compare against any specific health levels, we're gathering information over a period of time to look at truly the overall impacts of this. And then we have people going out, looking at the debris fields, understanding what it is. So it takes time to bring and coalesce that information, bring the organizations together, and come on a plan of action. And that plan of action really was developed as a uniform in terms of the frequently asked questions. So we need to all get on the same department. We need to get the information as to where did all this debris and smoke, where is it going, how is it lingering, what are the questions, and then we need to get to the right people to answer those questions, give the best information out. So while we'd like to produce something very, very quickly, we don't want the information to be accurate or wrong.
How long can we expect testing to take for ash and other debris to figure out if they do contain contaminants?
Well, currently right now, sampling is going on of both, some of the the water in the impacted areas. Haven't gotten a lot of those test results back, but on the water. But it's going to, continually go on at least for the next couple of days. Which water? I mean, what? Clarify the. Yeah, currently we work with the local POTW, and if you're looking for potential impacts to drinking water, there's systems in place and filters in place, and then they also up their sampling regimes to make sure that there is no impacts. But within the FAQs, that entity that's responsible for drinking water address those issues. While they're not here, I can address what we've put down in the FAQs.
Do you have any results that you can release with us, like from any debris particles that you guys collected, or
Currently, some of those results are pending, but we're looking at them as just charred ash. Where we're probably going to get results by later on this afternoon or tomorrow.
Is the spray
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the rain, any of the finer particular matter that we're, concerned about actually kind of gets suspended, it gets lofted in the air, and depending on the wind conditions, it could remain in the air. But a rain like this over a period of time will actually drive some of those down, and that's what we do is we'll continually monitor, during these conditions in the post-rain event to make sure that those levels are sustained low.
But it's also pushing it into the water supply at higher concentrations, is that correct?
Yeah, it'll actually drive it into the system as well too. But the ongoing sampling and monitoring efforts will look at impacts over a period of time.
Now, you say that they're increasing their testing. What are they increasing? Are they testing for compounds, chemicals?
Yeah. Well, specifically, you'd have to go directly to the water treatment facility to answer that question. I'm not at large to speak on behalf of them, but that information is in the FAQs, and you can direct them to get those specific answers to your questions.
And maybe this question has been answered before, but what was the majority of the things inside of that building that caught fire? Was it clothes, was it electronics, was it furniture? What was it?
That's an e-commerce facility for Walmart. So, if you can order from Walmart, my understanding was pretty much in that building. I don't think there was no hazmat. There was no hazardous materials in there. I don't think there was any tires, that kind of stuff. But home goods, I think a lot of home goods, clothing, electronics, that kind of stuff.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
Bottom line, is there anything that residents, people in this area need to be concerned about immediately or take any immediate action on to protect their safety and their property?
Yeah. I think currently right now, with the information that we're giving right now, is to where if you're outdoors and you're in areas of smoky areas, follow our advice and guidance that we've come up with. You can spend more times indoors. If you are outdoors, you can actually wear the N95 Max to protect. Also in the FAQs we say if you're continually in there, you can shower more frequently. If you're picking up debris, we'd like you to wear gloves and a respirator, because it's really fine material that you're seeing in these debris fields. So if you actually went up and actually touched it, it breaks apart really easily. Some of this debris with the rain, it may actually get washed out with the rain. But so the real risk is if people are handling the material and that dust would resuspend and they're not wearing masks, there is a potential for people to inhale that dust. If they handle the debris without gloves on and then they would go in and then not wash their hands and eat, there's a potential for that material to be ingested. So really more the inhalation of the fine particulate material from a debris standpoint, as well as just the the potential ingestion of that material if they don't do proper hand washing. So all of that specific information is kind of laid out in the FAQs. When you see the FAQs, there's an easy theme to follow in terms of what our recommendations are.
Chief Anderson, I want to know, as far as the security of the building and being able to get in, how are you guys going to determine whether or not walls are stable and some are leaning and everything, and then how will we do that and be able to decide on the building?
Over the coming days, as I said, we're transitioning to the investigation phase, and they'll do that from a distance and safely once they can get in there. They have all the equipment they need. The ATF brings all the equipment they need to safely remove any hazards or obstacles or anything that may cause safety issues. And then when the operations are complete over there, we'll turn the building back over to the building owner and the occupants, and they will be responsible to move forward from there.